child at the age of 8. I woke up one morning with a violent earache. To the doctor we rushed with lightning speed to be told my ear would always be. It seems a cold started in my nose, traveled through a weak tube to crust on my earlobe, creating a hole in my middle ear drum as my authenticity journey was then begun. I can't hear? Should I start again?
No, we can. It's just slight.
At that point in time, medical surgical skill was not advanced to cure my ear's ills. Though the hole would not mend, we had to find infection protection of the best kind. So the hospital we went for them to see, to cure my ear, the best remedy. But whatever it was they found would work, even greater intensified my earaches hurt. There was nothing of man that would ease the pain, though all concerned truly tried in vain. Until one summer, at my grandparents' house, Grandpa, Reverend Peter, was asked to try out. It was July 5th. I was 8 years old. I woke up to see brown spots all on my pillow. I grabbed my pillow and ran to my father. "Look, Daddy, look. What's going on?" My father, very analytical, put his glasses on. "Let me see. Seems like something's wrong with your ear." We went to the doctor to find out that I had a perforated eardrum, also known as a hole in my eardrum, which my father always called a hole in my head. They gave me penicillin at first. That, of course, caused hives. They also gave me other medication, but nothing would work. So I had to go to the hospital to find out what would work to stop this infection. They took a culture and found only one thing that would stop the infection. It had to be applied topically in the doctor's office. The next day we went there. I sat in the doctor's chair, ear, nose, throat doctor. My mother stood to my left, the nurse at my feet. Should have been a clue. The doctor said, "I can stop your ear infection, but it's gonna hurt." But I said, "It's okay, I'm good. I'm a strong little girl, I can make it work." So he tilted my head to the side. He pulled out this metal comb, put it in my ear, nodded to my mother. She grabbed my arm. The nurse grabbed my feet. Then the doctor took a long, looking like a needle, put cotton on the bottom of it, dipped it into a clear solution, and then slowly began inserting that into my ear. Yeah, I hollered and hollered and hollered and hollered and hollered. And all the way home, I kept telling my mother to slow down because every turn she took moved that liquid in my ear to a new spot and new pain. And when I got home, I walked upstairs so slowly and slowly. I got to my bedroom and took my clothes off and slowly put my pajamas on. And it wasn't until I got in my bed and lay down and could nestle my head in the pillow that I cried myself to sleep. Then I had to go back and do it again and again. I don't remember how many times. And that was followed by a solid year of very serious ear aches. It felt like God took his fingernail and just put it on my ear and just laid it on there. They tried doctors, they tried pills, they tried shots, they tried everything, and nothing would work. Then I'm in Buffalo, New York that summer, 9 years old. My mother says, "Call Papa." And I thought, if pills and shots and drops won't do, what methods is Grandpa, a preacher, what's he gonna pursue? Grandpa took me in the bedroom and laid me down. And he got on his knees and stared in my face and prepared to ask the Lord for grace. Grandpa said to me, "Norma, you must have something very important to do for God to give you so much pain at a young age." So I asked Grandpa, with my 9-year-old wisdom, I said, "Grandpa, can I ask God a question? Can I ask God to give me the instruction for what I'm supposed to do by the time I'm 30 years old?" Grandpa kind of looked at me. He said, "I'm sure God will grant that." He prayed on my ear. I never had that level of pain again. It's wonderful. You know, so many things that happen in our childhood shape who we are. That experience at 8 and 9 was very significant for me in a number of ways. Number one, it started me on a journey of taking antibiotics for 40 years. Yeah, 40 straight years. As a matter of fact, I had ear infections for 55 straight years, every single year for 55 years. Amazing. I had no idea what antibiotics would do to one's body. They hadn't been around that long, had not been tested, and my dad was a dentist, so I believed all the things the dentists and doctors said, right? 10 days of medication. Messed up my system. The second thing it did for me, obviously, was give me a very strong spiritual bond. I mean, if that's the only thing, if the doctors can't help my ear, and prayer can, that means a lot. And that led my life, and still leads my life in many ways. And the third thing it did was, it was my first step to authenticity. Because what happened with that level of pain, I had to become somebody else. I didn't know how to deal with that level of pain. I didn't get therapy. You didn't do therapy in those days. You didn't have coaches. So I just had to make do the best way I could. So naturally, it shaped my life in a number of ways. So fast forward to 28. So 28, I'm realizing, I did everything my parents had said. They said, get a husband, become a teacher, because then if your husband leaves you, you can always have a job. A lot of assumptions there, right? Yeah. Then they also said, make sure he has money. So we had a great house on a hill even, and we had cars and jobs and all the right things. And I was absolutely miserable. And I knew I was going to leave him, but I didn't know what was next. Leave him and do what, right? And I realized it because I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know what to do. I felt that mask that I had put on, and I didn't quite know how to get it off. And as I looked around me, it looked like everybody had on a mask, and nobody really knew who they were. And have you ever been to a masquerade? To see the parade of people playing people. What a charade. How can you go to a masquerade if you do not know your role or soul? It's paradoxical, but they hide so well, Watch the parade. There they go, each playing their role, dealing with their soul, so paradoxically. The Messiah, the Pope, the Lord of dreams and hope, who walks and talks in circles. He really sees reality, afraid of its dichotomy. He wastes his life on dope. Madame Mastermind, goddess of womankind, her only hope, a man to find. As far as anyone can see, fares well with life's reality, but drinks her life away. Insecure and nervous lady, appearances are often shaky. Reality's a little hazy. She seriously finds it crazy. She smokes her life away. Mind maker, memory machine, Christ of creativity through Christianity, political machinery. Frustrated by reality, he prays his life away. Angel of sunlight, ministry's delight, always does just what's right. Lives in her own reality, and with its ambiguity, she spends her life in flight. The chanters, the gossip gabbers, the dichotomous monotony don't even know reality. They do not feel, they do not see, they do not care, they will not be. They are life's reality. Robot their lives away. Who finds peace? Those who cannot see, or those who want to be able to deal with life's reality. Who is free from life's reality? The dichotomous monotony, or those who in their soul can see what reality can be. Now, I wrote that when I was 28 years old. And that's when I thought I was finished doing what Grandpa said would happen by 30. But God always plays tricks on you. My 30 years started at 28. And I spent 30 years, go ahead, Teresa. I spent 30 years chasing what does it mean to, why do we have this masquerade? How did we get this masquerade, this parade of people playing people? So what I'm going to share with you is what I have spent 30 years researching, and because it's a tool that's going to help you as a speaker. You can put that up now. And Teresa is passing out my authenticity grid. What I have done is I have given depth, complexity, and content to what it means to be authentic. You hear the word a lot, I've studied it for 30 years, and I'm going to help you understand a basic understanding of what it means to be authentic. I've tested this for a number of years, and I do these trainings in leadership trainings, and I use a lot of I use synonymously the word speaker and leader because they work the same. Speakers are leaders. If you don't know that, you are a leader. Whenever you're in the front of the room, you are leading, and you are a speaker as well. And I want to give you some basic instruction for how to use this tool to move yourself forward, because chances are you have on masks. You may not realize it, but they do interfere with your ability to speak as effectively as you would like to speak. How many of you would like to remove your mask? All right, because that's when you really step into your true authenticity. I just really stepped into mine even after all these years of study. And I got great validation recently. I'm really thrilled to announce and share with you that just 2 weeks ago I was selected as one of 16 women to represent the United States in China for 5 weeks. I will be teaching this program to university students in Henan, and the objective is to teach American culture and values. And I'm just delighted that they have seen this as a program that would be valuable for them. So I can't go into detail, but I can give you a brief overview. Angel, just checking, you gave me 45 minutes total, right? Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next one, please. So this is my authenticity grid, which you should have in your hands at this point in time. And whether you have it or not, we'll still go forward. What I found when I studied myself and dissected myself is I have 3 voices. And when I went to 20 cities, I found out what I found about me is everybody else. So you all have 3 voices. The first is your inner voice, the one that no one hears but you. That's the voice that really is the foundation of your message as a speaker. It comes from within. It starts from way back when you were a child. And it's a combination of your experiences, your expertise, your passion, the things you've gone through, what you believe in, your purpose, all of those together, and they all mishmash together. And all the masks you put on top of them. But when you're really clear on your inner voice, you're clear on what your message is as a speaker. The second one that we all have is our outer voice. That's how you see us. So when you see me in orange, you make a certain perception about me. You don't have a clue what's going on inside. When a speaker's up here, we all make an impression as soon as we see them. We have no idea their message or what they've been through, except for what they tell us. Then we have our expressive voice, which is who we have become in the world, and how we choose to move forward. And then what I learned is each one of these voices has 3 dimensions to them. I found within me at 28, 9 different personalities, 9 different energies, which everybody has. Some you recognize, some you don't. Some you have masks on, some you have so many masks on, you can't even find it anymore. But when you remove one by one the mask that you are wearing, you become more authentic in your personal life, in your professional life, in your message. To go through a few of them, intuition, which is the ability to listen from the outside in and respond. And sometimes people don't realize how intuitive they are, and the clue that I give them is to think about how you answer the question when you say to yourself, what am I going to eat? Or what am I going to wear? Or what time is it? How do you answer that question? How does spirit speak to you? Does it come as a thought, as a memory, as a feeling, something in your gut? When you begin to examine that, you become more clear about how your inner voice speaks to you. And you begin to connect with it more. And when you stop saying, doggone it, I knew I should have, then you know you're listening more clearly. And not just listening, but trusting and following. And you want to do that as a speaker. Because as speakers, we're very creative people. We're artists in our way. And so it means allowing that artistic energy to come through. And that comes through your intuition. The next, obviously, is integrity, your values. You have to know your values as a speaker. And you want your target market to be aligned with the values that are common with you. But you have to know what they are first. People say sometimes if you find that for 5 people around you that represents your income, I say it represents your values. Because you're not going to stay with people whose values are not aligned with yours. You're going to stay with people whose values are very much aligned with you. And then you have inspiration, your drive. People talk about being motivated or being inspired. And I always recommend that inspiration trumps motivation. Excuse me. Inspiration is over motivation at all times. The way the inner voice works, from what I've learned, is that when you get an idea through intuition, you filter it through your value system. Is it my value? Is it not? Do I go along with it? If you do go along with it, then you choose to be inspired to act on it. So knowing how your inner voice works helps you to connect more with your inner voice, and that helps you to be more powerful as a speaker because it aligns you more with your purpose and with what's really going on within you. Your outer voice has 3 components to it also. Net wellness is one. How do you take care of yourself? Inez says she's traveling. She can't travel if she's not healthy. Long hours, lots of walking. How many steps you say the word? 276 steps or something? A lot of steps to go through. Your wellness is critical. When I first started speaking, I had just gotten over a really bad case of Candida albicans. Candida is something I got from those 40 years of antibiotics. If you don't know what it is, it's what women get as a yeast infection. I had it throughout my entire system. It was really very bad. It took me 5 years to get it out of my system. 5 years of very specific eating habits, very restricted, and a lot of homeopathic remedies as well. But so net wellness is really near and dear to my heart. And when I started speaking, I wanted to speak, but I didn't have the energy because that candida zaps your energy. That's when I started my bureau, because Spirit said, well, you can't speak yourself, but you can help other people to do that. But that's part of the journey. And what I'm also pointing to you is that everything you do from your childhood to now has something to do with what you speak about. Sometimes people grab at different things to speak about. Just pick it. I can make money here, I can make money there. But what's truly here? And what's here? And what's here? And how are they aligned together? That's what I call alignment. When you are aligned, you're far more effective as a speaker and as a human being, because then you're giving one message. We've all met people, I'm sure, at some point who say one thing and do something else, or you meet them and something's just not right about them because the inner voice and outer voice are giving different messages. And what you want to do is make sure that the person on stage and the person inside is doing the same thing, and saying the same thing in the same way. That's when you're more authentic and people believe you. Obviously, networking is very important. We've talked about that a lot today and the last 2 days. Net wealth as abundance, and net wealth not only from the money you receive, but the joy you have in life. What's the purpose of having money if you're not happy? We talked about the why. Other speakers talked about the why and how important that is. That's where that fits in. How are you on all of these? Are you aligned with yourself? Expressive voice is something that's not talked about as much. It starts with legacy, and by legacy, I don't mean what you're leaving to your heirs. I mean what was given to you, what was poured into you when you were born. What are your gifts and talents? There's 3 primarily. There's your physical gifts. Now, sometimes people don't think their body's a gift in terms of their size, their shape, their color, their hair, whatever. And I've learned that over 300% of children under the age of 18 get plastic surgery every 10 years. Yes. What? It's true. It's true. Check, do your Googles. But they do it, I'm told, for eyes for some Asians, nose and ears for being bullied. But what's the value that gives to a child who gets that at a young age, the start of their career, of their life, and then that value stays with them from there forward? It gets them out of alignment a bit. The another one of the gifts is your spiritual gifts, and that would be speaking, signifying, or serving. And the one that I refer to a lot is what I call the wisdom gifts. And the wisdom gifts have to do with, they're based on the multiple gifts of intelligence of Dr. Howard Gardner. And there's 9 of them: verbal, visual, kinesthetic, musical. You can see me later if you'd like to know the details of those. But I tell people you want to be stepping into at least 3 of those gifts on a regular basis, because if you're not authentic. And not only that, you're not happy. The gifts you were given originally is what you do easiest. So why not do them? Why not incorporate them in the work that you do? Incorporate them in your speaking. Incorporate them in your day-to-day life. And if not in your speaking, at least in your activities after your speaking. And then likability or personality. When I first did this, I have an assessment that goes with it. And I introduced it at NSA many years ago. And I remember I had one gentleman who gave the assessment to, and when I do the assessment, you score from 1 to 10 of the degree to which you've integrated this in your life. He scored it a 1. So I repeated it. I said 1 means, you're not very likable, and 10 means you're very likable. He says, well, I'm in a 1. He said, I don't like people. I said, really? And you're a speaker? There's something out of alignment with that. Something clearly out of alignment. And then the last one is lifestyle, your day-to-day habits. What do you do day to day? How do you live your life? How do you day to day have habits that support what your goals are? Now, if you are not achieving the level of success that you want as a speaker, chances are one or more of these are out of alignment. One or more of these, you're wearing some masks that are getting in your way of your own authenticity. Sometimes you can't even find your own masks because they've been on for so long. And sometimes you've had so many of them that you have one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, that you hardly know yourself. We actually start wearing those masks as early as kindergarten, preschool and kindergarten. In preschool, I used to be a preschool director, and the children would come into the classroom and come on in and go where you want to go to the jungle gym, go over here, go play with the finger paint, whatever. Bathroom, whenever you need to go, please go. And you get to kindergarten and first grade, and it's stand in line, raise your hand, hold it, hold it, hold it. And what happens, so many people, they stay in those cubicles all of their life and never get out of them. Not you, though. You're speakers. You're entrepreneurs. You're independents. You have a message. You have depth. You have complexity. You have content. And you want to share it. Oh, yeah. I love that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd like to help you become more authentic. Would you pass those out, please? Thank you. So I'd like to help you remove any masks, whether you know they're there or not. I have 2 offers for you. One is my signature service, which is an alignment assessment, where I spend 60 to 90 minutes with you. I give you my authenticity assessment. I help you interpret it. Now, usually when you do an assessment, you get 1 score that you read and you know that's you. I have 16 scores that I see when you do my assessment. I can tell you many things about yourself. One of the things that probably relates to all of you is you're probably what I call inner voice thinkers. And let me show you what I mean by that. By that, what I mean is when I give you your assessment, your scores are probably highest here. I didn't go through these. I don't have time to talk about these right now. But your scores would be highest here because you're a thinker. You like to create and plan things. And you're also in your inner voice. You listen to your inner voice. Now, people like that, which is what I am as well, don't do well financially unless they have a doer on their team. Because you're so busy thinking and creating that you forget you gotta go do something about what you've created. Hit a few nerves, huh? This tool has helped a lot of organizations to look at their teams and make modifications. It has helped families. When I do the one-on-one, I have all kind of results. Because I have this sense within me that was developed ever since Grandpa talked to me when I was 8 years old, where I can do a spirit-to-spirit connection with you and help you see what you can't see. By asking you a number of questions and recognizing my 30 years of research on here, I can help you see what blocks maybe are masks that you're wearing that maybe you are not aware are there, and then help you with tools to remove them. In the 30 years that I researched, I also wrote inventories on each one of these 9 areas. So these inventories give you information or reference books, if you will, that help you to go deeper. For example, the one on intuition shows you 8 ways in which people receive intuitive information. And where are you, and what happens when you don't listen, and what you might need to do to overcome that. I have had people tell me that in 10 minutes, I've answered questions that they didn't even ask me. I have one guy, Rael Sims, that tells me, I've been pondering that question all for 10 years, and I didn't even tell you the question, and you answered it. So if you feel stuck in anywhere, and my background includes not only owning a bureau and speaking for the last 20 years, but also coaching speakers for the last 21 years, doing a number of different events, a number of connections. I know the industry. A lot of people know the industry from only one area. I've had experience in multiple areas. And my greatest skill is as a diagnostician, to help you diagnose where your challenge may lie. That service is offered normally for $750, and I'm offering it today to Tanya's group for half off for only $375. Now, the second service I offer you is if you want a longer term engagement and at a reduced rate. And you changed my time. Okay, so I got to switch up again. Then I wouldn't have been doing an offer then if I had 15. I thought that was okay. I thought I had 45 minutes. She told me 30, but it was 45. So I rushed through a few things to stay on time and be respectful. So I'll come back, but I'll go ahead and do this, and then I'll do some other things to go forward. So the other offer is to become one of my proteges. And as a protege, I work with you for a minimum of 6 months to help you find, live, and share your authentic voice. That's what it's all about, knowing who you are, knowing how to not only know it, but then to live it, and then to share it as a speaker. So in this particular program, you get all of the workbooks, the inventories that go with this. And I've been doing group coaching since 2008, weekly. And I have a number of audios. I have picked the best 26 of them, and you will get one of those a week for 26 weeks. And the first one you get, for example, helps you to distinguish between your inner voice and your ego. That's a challenge sometimes, inner voice versus ego. And once you know the difference of how to distinguish between the two, you can listen more clearly and be more accurate in terms of what your direction is supposed to be. My work gives you clarity, confirmation, and courage to be who you are and step into your authenticity. There's nothing more important in my mind than being authentic, which is why I devoted more than 30 years of my life to it. In addition to that, you also get a monthly coaching call, group coaching call, where we would come together, and I would answer any questions you have on any of the work that you've listened to. Now, the workbooks and the audios you do at your own pace. There's no real time frame, and they're reference books. I refer to them a lot now. And I also teach you how to use this grid as a coaching tool. For example, I spoke in Barbados about 3 or 4 years ago. And when I got back, my host said to me that he was not happy with how I don't remember exactly what the words were, but somehow in my behaviors or my lack of appreciation in his perspective, I didn't do what he expected. So I went to my grid. I said, okay, Norma, where does that fall on the grid? It falls under likability is where I saw it. Now, as I tested this for a time, for several years, what I found is that if you have a low score or a vulnerability or a challenge in any one of these, if you work on the adjacent ones, that will bring up the one in question. So I asked myself, Norma, are you living your gifts and talents? And I had to be honest and no, I wasn't. Because I had been in the bureau, I had been in my introverted self, and I was transitioning to the extrovert. I hadn't transitioned yet, wasn't speaking that much, recognized what a gift it was. And so I was hiding, masking my true personality. So I made the determined effort to pull that out. I asked myself, Norma, are you networking? And with network, we're talking about quality and quantity relationships. Quality, those who know you and know you well, they even know how you smell, and they still love you. But I had to ask myself, am I networking sufficiently? And that's when I said no. And that's when I joined PSA, and I joined EBC, and I joined the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. And that enabled me to get out more and to have more networking. Now I'm at another level of that. I'm ready to join 2 or 3 more organizations that have a different level, different type. So we go through this many times. You get one level of authenticity, you're happy there, and then you raise it to another level based on your own growth and development. I had to ask myself, Norma, is your lifestyle or your habits sufficient to what it is you're trying to do? And to be honest, no. You know, when I was a kid, I went to school every single day from the first day of kindergarten to the last day of graduation, except the one day I was in the hospital. And they forgave that. I got a perfect attendance award. I wish I could be so disciplined now. Trying to get myself back to that would definitely raise my level of authenticity, as is with probably all of you. You can probably look at those now and look at and determine where you may feel that you may be lower in your, you may be more vulnerable than the others. I use the word vulnerability versus weakness because I feel that we're all vulnerable in one way or another. Weakness sometimes brings a downer. Vulnerability means, you can just deal with it and make a change and make it work. And actually, I don't like to use the word change, I use the word tweak. And what I suggest with this, once we do the assessment and I know who you are, is that when you tweak just one thing in one dimension, whichever dimension is the lowest for you, you're going to have massive changes. So rather than talk about, I'm going to change myself, just tweak one thing about yourself. Don't make it such a hard chore. When you tweak one thing, it kind of blossoms out and gives you massive change. And that's what I suggest you do. So I want to mention this, that for this program, the price on there that's the normal price I have online, but for this group, the price is only $197 rather than the $547. And for the first 5 people who sign up for this, I have a special, which I'll tell you when my time is up, which is not yet. But what I would do now in the time that I'm making up from is talk about legacy for a moment. And you might want to write these down. I want to share with you what the 9 wisdom gifts are, so that you can see which are the top 3 for you. So the 9 wisdom gifts. 1 is verbal. These are people who learn and really enjoy speaking. They enjoy words. They enjoy whether reading, writing, editing, speaking. Words are important to them. That's how they learn. Secondly is visual/spatial. These are people who learn through seeing. They like to see things. These are also people who are artists, your fine artists, your graphic designers, your people who do jigsaw puzzles, drafts people, architectures, people like that. Next would be musical. These are people who love sound. They especially love rhythm. They like to tap their feet. They like to sing. They like to dance. They like music. They always have the music on. Then there's kinesthetic. Kinesthetic are people who like to move around. They are your dancers, your athletes. They are your mobile people. They learn by being in motion. There is mathematical logical. Mathematical logical is not just numbers, but it's also people who learn who are very logical. They can see the big picture, and they can make assessments based on seeing the big picture very easily. There's nature, people who learn by being outdoors. They learn by being in nature, and they're very good with patterns, because if you think of nature, you throw a rock in the ocean and it has a pebble, it has a pattern. You think of trees, they have patterns when you cut it, leaves have patterns. And then there's interpersonal, people who learn by being around others. Intrapersonal, people who learn by going within. And the 9th one, which was not as well respected 40, 50 years ago when Dr. Gardner realized this, but now it's becoming more accepted, is existential. Existential meaning people who learn by going outside the norm. Maybe they talk to animals. They're the shaman that have different types of perspectives and different ideas. There are people who go outside of the box and are not well understood in many cases. So if you look at those 9 and identify which are your top 3 that you feel are most representative of you, and ask yourself if you are using those in your life now. Are they a part of your day-to-day life? A part of your hobbies? And if they're not, then you may want to re-examine your life. You want to tweak something that brings those things into your life. So in my process of developing all of this, I also wrote some books. This one is The Process to Become a Professional Speaker. And I will make this available to those who do sign up so that you have this information. Now, what I did also is I wove the contents of this book into all of the inventories there. For example, when you're in inner voice, that's where your message is from. So while you're doing the inventories for inner voice, why not also examine your message? Because you're in that energy. You know, life is energy. You know that. So why not stay in the energy for certain projects and certain activities so that you clearly know where you're going with them? In addition, I have a book called My 10 Steps to Authenticity, which summarizes the whole process that I did for 30 years and the whole assessment system that I have. And then the 9 workbooks, inventories that I speak of are summarized in what I call my Seeds of Self book, which will give you an example of what the books would be. I didn't bring all of them. I'm still traveling, so that'll give you a sense of what they're all about. So authenticity, as I mentioned, we begin losing it when we are in kindergarten, and we have to raise our hands so much. And another area where I got closely aligned with authenticity is when I had my bureau, when I first started coaching speakers. Speakers would come to me and they'd tell me, I'm going to be the next great whatever. And I'd ask them, well, who do you admire as a speaker? And they'd give me a name. And I would ask them, now, okay, let me see you speak. And you know what they would do. They'd try to speak like the person whose name they just mentioned. It always fell flat because it wasn't authentic. They could not be themselves. You have to always be you. But you have to first know who you are. You may know who you think you are or who you may have been, but there's also much in terms of how you're evolving because we're all evolving. I think speakers know that, but I think sometimes we get trapped in not allowing ourselves to evolve. Your message should evolve as you evolve. I've heard speakers, I have some speakers that I know whose names I will not mention, who still speak today the same message that they gave 20 years ago. They've had lots of experiences since then and haven't woven any of them into their presentations. They just look for new audiences. And you can hear them about them and you go to see them and hear them, you think you're going to hear something new, and you could almost tell the story they're telling because you've heard it enough times. You know what I'm saying, right? So you want to always be evolving. We have that I guess that's ABE, always be evolving. Always be allowing yourself to grow and improve on your presentation. Without that, you're not being authentic. And that's with everything on here. When I mentioned to you about net wellness, the wellness needs you have now are not what you had when you were 20. Are you keeping up with them? Are you changing your diet? I know most of my friends are totally changed their diets. There's certain things they can't eat. We all have a list of we can't have this, can't have this, can't have this. If you're not there yet, you will be. So are you keeping up with it? You know, for myself, I was eating very carefully because women in my family die of digestive cancer. My mother, my aunt, and their mother. So I'm eating, for years, I was eating spinach and kale and all the green things and almonds and different nuts and seeds and tofu. Then in 2010, I had my first bout of kidney stones. Multiple stones in both kidneys. Yeah, ouch. Well, it didn't really hurt. I didn't know they were there. But until they put the stents in, then it was really bad. But after the surgery, then I did the research. So what do I need to eat now? It was a calcium oxalate stones. And so what I read I need to eat, is what I need to eliminate is kale and almonds and all the things, tofu, all the things I was eating to anti-cancer was causing kidney stones. And guess what? That was the first year that I did not have an ear infection. Who would have thought? I was doing what the book said. I researched, I had all this Candida albicans. I was doing all the right stuff and eating the right food, and little did I know. It still wasn't right. Had to keep evolving, to be authentic, to align myself to what's going to make the best opportunity for me to move forward. So it's the same with you. How are you aligning yourself? How ready are you to really step into your future? To really step into who you can be? Because if you are still wearing masks, you can't be true you. And chances are you've got one or two in there over you, whether you realize it or not. I would love to assist you to remove those masks, to find out what they are first, and then to remove them. So, as I mentioned my offer, the $547 price is, cross it out, it's $197. And for the first 5 people who do sign up, I will give you a complimentary authenticity alignment, the 90-minute session, so that I can help you go one-on-one and go deep into you and give you some understanding of who you are and where you may need to make some adjustments. It's all about being authentic. When you are more authentic, you will have a more authentic life and a happier life, because there is a connection with authenticity and happiness. We talked about happiness finding you. It finds you. And I didn't start out on this journey saying, I'm going to study authenticity and be an authenticity expert. The word wasn't even used that much in the past. And we wouldn't even use it now if it wasn't for so much inauthenticity in life right now. So if you really want to be the change, to change the world from the front of the room, to make a difference in the world, to really step into your purpose and do all that you can to make this world a much better place, then you deserve, you owe it to yourself to become authentic. I want to introduce 2 of my proteges, Teresa Golden, who's been with me for a number of years. She was one of the very first people that took my training and has never gone away. And that was, 10 years ago or so? So if you want to ask about how the program works, talk to her. And also Shantae, who was here in the yellow yesterday. Shantae's been around about 7 years or so. She won't go away either, and I don't want either one of them to leave. Even though she's moved from San Diego to Vegas, she's still around. So that's the kind of clients you want. Clients that you help become authentic, that don't leave you. Because they know they're going to get value. Oh, an angel, how can I leave you out? I'm so sorry. Stand up, angel. Yes, yes. She gave me a wonderful award when the first PEA session. Yes, PSA session.
I really thank you. I learned so much between you two. It's been awesome.
Thank you, thank
The
you.
program is really good.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure spending time with you today. I hope I've shared something that will be of value for you. If you keep the postcard you have, and examine it. And the other side of it you see is the corporate side, because I do that for corporate, and that applies a lot to your speaker business. Where it says employee, it's the testimonials, it's the people who are listening to you. Where it says the outer voice, then that's your organization and how you are situated in your back office to make things happen. And where it says expressive, then that's how you are going across to the community and how you are sharing your message. So this is the valuable tool that Grandpa said, you must have something important to do. And I devoted 30 years to it, and I'm just delighted. And I'd like to say as a testimony that this is what happens when you allow your inner voice to lead you. If you truly believe you're here for a purpose, if you truly believe you're here to make a difference, and you're truly listening to that voice within, trust it and listen to it and watch what it does for you. You might end up in China. Thank you.